Hi guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Burstner Ixeo. It's a 2013 and it is a 740, I believe. Just double check that. Yep, Ixeo 740. So under the bonnet here, based on the Fiat Ducato, we've got the washer fluid up on the top left hand side, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Next door to all of that, you've got your brake fluid attached to the servo behind it. Engine oil gets topped up through here, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one down there at the bottom. You've then got your paint code, so it's called Fiat Gold and White, and it's 506 is the actual code. The vehicle itself is weighed at 3.5 tons. As you can see on the chassis plate that's there on the side. If you ever see this one under the bonnet, don't worry about it, because it doesn't actually, it's not relevant for this vehicle anymore because it's been downplated from factory by Burstner. So it was weighed at 3,650, but the one you actually want to go off is the one that says Burstner on the side. So on these newer models, you've also got the engine battery itself sits under the floor in the cab just in front of the passenger seat. So to jump start the vehicle, you've got a positive terminal just here, and your earthing point or your negative terminal is this little piece just here that sticks out. So if you want to jump start the vehicle, those 2 points just there to save you having to take all the floor out to get to the engine battery. The fuel filter is at the back just here, and your air filter sits inside this casing down here. So nice Burstner logo down there instead of the Fiat one, which would have been done from factory as well. So inside the passenger door, we've got the bonnet release handle just here, and you've also got your fuel filling point just inside here, which is diesel. Both of these front seats do swivel round, so you've got a handle on each side, on each seat, to swivel these seats around. Absolutely tons of storage in these cupboards. A little bit more up here as well. So there you go. So just here on the near side, we've got your freshwater filling point. So push in and round to the left enables you to take that out. In and round to the right allows you then to lock it up. So once you've done that in and round to the right, you can then pop the key in, which is this key here. Pop the key in and twist it whichever way it will go, and that is now locked. Next door to that, we've got the gas locker. Now you have got a refillable system in here, so this is a gas-low system. They look to me to be about 13 kilo propane bottles. Well, it's kind of a mixture, but 13 kilos anyway. So your filling point for these is this little point just down here underneath that says auto gas on it, and that is essentially to be filled up at any sort of decent sized petrol station that has the LPG filling point. So it's easy as, you know, it's basically a bayonet fitting that goes onto that. I can see at the moment you've got about half a bottle in this one. I can't quite see the one at the back because of the way it's facing, but so, you know, this is going to last you a hell of a long time anyway. To turn the bottles on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left to turn them on, and clockwise around to the right to turn them off. The regulator at the back just there has also got your auto changeover on it, so that means that you can switch both bottles on, and it will basically switch between the two bottles as and when it needs to. That's this part at the top here, and the regulator itself is the part underneath that, the silver part. So that is the gas locker. You do need to make sure that you switch the gas bottles off before you start driving, but for the time being I'm going to leave them on because I've got a few bits working on the inside. So this vent just here on the outside that says Truma on it, this is your boiler vent, and so anytime that you're using the heating or the hot water, you should feel hot air coming out through the bottom of this. You've also got the external water point, so that is hot and cold water, and there is a point for that, a little socket for it, which I'll point out to you in a minute. So that is your external fresh and hot and cold water point, sorry, just there. Down underneath this cupboard, we've got your wastewater drain off point. So you can see there, it's just very slowly dripping out because I've just used the sink. So that's where you drain out your wastewater. And in this cupboard here, I am going to show you more properly inside, but this little hole here with the cover is where you get your access to your boiler drain off point, although you can get nice and easily into it from the inside. I'll show you how to actually use it on the inside, but I just thought I'd show you that's why you've got this little black cover here, as to give you access to that. Okay, so that is the storage cupboard under the near side rear bed. At the back of the van, you've got a reversing camera down there. Not sure where the screen for it is, because that's not the factory fitted one, I wouldn't think, but anyway, right, so on the back of the vehicle we've got a 2-bike rack and the original Burstner centre brake light. You've got your hookup point up here on the off side of the back, so if you do have access to a hookup cable, it's always really helpful. It means that your leisure batteries will be fully charged all the time, and it'll also mean that you get access to using any mains powered appliances and your mains powered sockets. So that is always a really good thing to have. You then got your storage and toilet cassette locker here. So you've kind of got, well, you have got a double skinned van. So you've got 2 floors essentially. So you've got this one just here, which does give you access all the way through for an absolutely massive amount of storage underneath the original floor that you stand on. And it also gives you a really, really good insulation, because you've got, it's almost like an airlock, if you like. So this is the floor that you actually stand on in the vehicle, and you've got this sort of 6 inches or so of space between the floor and the actual bottom of the vehicle. So acts as a really, really good airlock, better for insulation. So the toilet cassette locker, very, very simple. To actually take it out, lift up on the yellow tab and pull towards you. You'll then be able to take the entire thing out, and that's the toilet cassette. The only things you need to know about really is that you've got this little rubber seal here, which needs to be kept on top of with a silicone lubricant. So keep that sliding in and out nice and freely, silicone lubricant. And that when you empty this out from here, so you twist this around and empty it out from there, when you're doing that, you should be holding down the yellow button at the back. Then pop that away, push it all the way in, and that's it. These pipes just here, the blue pipe is for the freshwater flush that you've got on here, and these are for the buttons for the toilet itself to pull the flush water through. So, in that one, that's a bit more storage in there, and the table that you can fit if you want to, but a lot of people take these tables out because they are absolutely massive, great big things, and sort of get in the way sometimes. So you've got the external power and aerial sockets here. So you've got a continental power socket, external satellite cable, and you've also got a 12-volt socket there. So the idea is you've got a satellite point, antenna, and 12-volt point. So if you wanted to use an outdoor aerial, then you can do that, although you have got a nice aerial on the roof at the moment already. The awning that was on this vehicle was bent out of shape, so we have fitted a brand new awning. This has literally only been opened up for testing on the habitation check, so it's brand new. So, you know, always a nice thing to have on there, really. It was a different colour as well before, so I think it looks a lot nicer with the black. So you've got the 2 vents just here. They both say Dometic on them, and that's because you've got a Dometic 3-way fridge. It's also an AES fridge, which means automatic energy selecting, which I'll run you through when we get inside. You've got the external gas point on this one as well. So this is your Reich external gas point, and you know, as long as your gas bottles are switched on inside the cupboard, you should have gas coming through there as and when you want it. I'll put that back in when I've got 2 hands back in a minute. So I'm going to run you through the cab now, because it's you know, got a nice high spec in this cab. Okay, so first things first, you've got just shy of 35,000 miles on the clock, which for a vehicle like this with an engine like these, you know, it's essentially nothing, if you like. Yeah, so it's all been checked over, MOT's been done, and it all went through, no problems whatsoever. It drives absolutely lovely. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox here, so obviously much nicer than having the 5-speed. 6th gear is down to the bottom right. Reverse is lift up and over to the top left hand side to select reverse. You've got the cruise control option on here as well, so you've got the cruise control from the bottom left hand stalk. Your lights and indicators are on this left hand stalk, and washers and wipers are on the right. You've got the auto adjusting, well, electric adjusting mirrors from here, so you basically select which mirror you want to move and then move it around like a joystick. Electric windows, as you'd come to expect. You've also got the more up-to-date center section here, so you've got the air conditioning switch from this button here and a little screen in there telling you what's going on. You can work all that stuff out. It's just basically fan speed, where the air goes to, and the temperature. You've then got your hazard warning lights, lock and unlock the cab from inside, which is always nice. Front and rear fog lamps, and the heated rear window button will not do anything, because the original heated rear window would have been about here when it was a chassis cab, so that won't do anything at all. You have got, if I just pop the key in, a nice modern stereo. Turn that down, turn that on there. You can see if we can get it to open up. There you go. So nice modern double din, well actually it's a single din stereo, but it opens up to be a double din size, which is always good for keeping it space saving. So you've got DAB radio on there if you want to use that, all working with the correct antenna. What else have we got? Normal radio, Bluetooth, Spotify, camera view, so you can have a look at the camera. If I pop it in reverse, there you go, comes up. All right, so that's how you actually get the camera screen to come up. Pop it into reverse, and if the screen is up like this, it should come up on the screen as you've just seen there. So if I take it out of reverse, it's wired up to the reverse switch. All right, so it won't come on unless you have it in reverse. Camera view, there you go. So if I go back, to where we were before. There you go. So yeah, that's just telling you that your phone isn't connected yet. There is a CD slot as well in there, I believe. But there you go. That's basically it, really. There's not much else to it. Nice and simple. But that is your nice modern Pioneer stereo. I mean, these things aren't cheap whatsoever. So again, like having this and the new awning on it is a couple of things that are really nice to have, that you won't have to do in the future anytime soon. So we close this back down by pressing this button here. And then the only thing I will say is that with motorhomes in general, you do have to make sure, because if I turn this ignition off, stereo stays on. And the reason they do that is that you can actually sometimes wire it up so that they'll come on and work via the leisure batteries. So, you know, it means that you'll be able to use the stereo without the engine running and things like that. So if you are going to get out of the vehicle and don't want any battery drains or anything like that, you do need to make sure that you press and hold this middle button here to turn it off. All right, that's really important, because if you do forget to do that, you know, it doesn't take very long, you know, maybe a couple of days or so of a stereo being on, that it will start to drain the battery out, you know, nice and quickly. I've got the power on in the back end at the moment, which is probably why it's come back on like that. There you go. Right, so that is the cab. So if I jump in the back end now, it might look like a little bit of a mess in here. It's only because I've opened up a few places so that we can see. I can show you a few bits. First of all, I'll go through the control panel and things with you in a minute, but before all of that, I'm going to show you this whole locker down here, which is all to do with your electronics, and basically everything that has electric power going to it comes from this section in here. So if I just get down so I can show you properly, what you've got here on the left hand side is your power supply unit. This is an EBL, or an electro block, and it will have a number on it, wherever that might be. EBL 99. Probably can't see it, but I can see it just in there. EBL 99. So the electro blocks are a very, very standard kind of power supply unit for the Burstners and a lot of Continental vehicles. So essentially what this does is it takes the power from the leisure batteries and also some power from the mains as well, and essentially just distributes it around the vehicle as and where it needs to. Without having this electro block here, you wouldn't have a battery charger, you wouldn't have any fuses, and so it really is sort of the heart of the vehicle. You've then got, next door to that, you've got these two leisure batteries, which are exactly the same, which is always what you want. If you have two leisure batteries next door to each other and they're not the same, they will only ever be as good as the worst battery of the two. All right, so that's why you always have to replace batteries. If you've got a twin set, you need to have two batteries hooked up together, basically. They're the same. So you've got then next door to that, probably won't mean much to a lot of people, to be fair, but you've got, this is what you call a D plus box. That and the bit below it are all to do with that. So when you start the engine up, essentially you'll get some power coming from the split charging system, coming through there and coming through to the leisure batteries and the fridge. So that all the time that you're running the engine, your leisure batteries are being charged up, and you've got a power circuit, sort of a cable running through to the fridge so that you can keep it cold as you drive. You've then got your solar controller and the fuses for that. So you haven't got to do anything with the solar controller. As long as there's sunlight on the roof, you will have power coming through into the leisure battery. The gubbins for the external gas point are just down there as well. So if you ever need to get to that for any reason, that's where that is. And any of these brown pipes around the whole vehicle are all just to do with your heating. They're the ducts for the heating. So try your best not to grab hold of them when you've been having the heating on for ages, because they will be hot. So that is that whole section down there, all to do with the electrical systems of the vehicle. Okay, so the control panel is the next part I'm going to show you. Very, very simple control panel. Nearly all of these Burstners nowadays have these kind of, well, of this year, have this type. Doesn't really get much more simple. So you've got an on and off button for all 12 volt power. So that's basically anything that gets powered from the leisure batteries. Okay, so I've got that switched on at the moment, and so that means that I can go ahead and I can use my lights. So I've got the lights on. It also means that anything that has an ignition on it will then come to life as well. But basically, when you want to come into the vehicle and start using stuff, press the 12 volt power on so you get this little amber light. Once you've done that, you can check your battery voltages from these two on the left hand side. So if I press and hold the front one, we will be looking at the top scale on this little gauge here, and that'll be showing us the engine battery voltage. Okay, so we look at that. 12.5 volts in the engine battery. That is absolutely perfect. And we'll see what voltage we've got in the leisure. 12.25. Also absolutely fine. So that is your engine and leisure battery voltages. You've then got another scale on this little gauge here at the bottom, which is your fresh and waste water levels. So the fresh water level, if we press and hold the top one, it's empty, and the wastewater level also empty. So fresh and waste, and we'll be looking at the bottom scale. You've then got your hookup indicator. So if your hookup cable was plugged in, you'd have this little light up here on, and your water pump switch on and off is here. So you've got the water pump switched on at the moment, but because you've got a submersible pump in here, the water pump will only ever run if you've got a tap in the open position. The reason for that is that the water pumps in these, the submersible pumps, have to have a signal. There's a little wire inside here called a micro switch, which basically when you lift this tap up, the micro switch makes its connection and then tells the pump to turn on. So it will not run, or it can't run, unless you've got that micro switch opened up. Once you've got your water pump switched on, you do then need to draw the water through to the boiler and make sure that you've got water in the boiler. So to do that, all you have to do is make sure you've got a little bit of water in the tank, turn the tap to the hot side and lift the tap up. So quite clearly, I can see that we've got a good solid, nice steady stream of water coming through on the hot side, and that means that the boiler is full. If I hadn't filled the boiler up already and the boiler was empty, all I would get coming through that tap just there, if the pump was on and we had water, is air coming through here. Right, if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to get the locker door on the outside because it has started to rain. So just drop this down. Let's get a bar here. Drop that down. Don't really want any water coming inside the vehicle best we can. So yeah, with the boiler, it's nice and easy. Just make sure that you've got water inside the boiler before you start trying to light it up on gas and get it all hot. So that's that. Once you've done that, you can just go ahead and use the boiler exactly as you want to. Don't worry about it at all. In that same sort of area, the boiler drain off point. So the actual boiler drain off point is this blue thing here at the top. And what you've got is a little twisty knob on the top and a little blue button at the bottom. So in order to actually drain the water out from the boiler, I have to twist this and the water will start draining out when that button pops out like I just did there. So to get it to stop draining out, twist it back and push the button back in. So the only time you would ever actually want to do that is if you're going to drain it out for winter. If you are draining it out for winter, you'll also want to lift this little yellow tab upright as well, and that will drain out all of the pipe work. So that is how you winterize this van, basically. That's how you drain out the boiler. The freshwater tank is underneath this forward-facing seat here, and it will have a drain in there as well. So now that we've drained a little bit of water out of the boiler there will be a very small amount of air to come through here. Right, so you saw just there, it didn't come straight out immediately. It took a few seconds to actually start coming through. And all that is, that few seconds just there, that air coming out at the very beginning, is just the small amount of water that we've drained out of the boiler, filling it back up, and then coming through to the tap. Okay, so that is how you empty and, refill your boiler. Nice and easy. I'll put that all back together in a minute. So, still staying on the boiler, we've got the boiler controls here. So you've got a combi, it's kind of like a combi E is what you'd call it. So you've got the ability to use this boiler on either gas, electric, or both at the same time. So on the right hand side, this little switch that says combi E on it, this is the energy selector for the boiler. So this is the one that's going to tell the boiler whether to use gas, electric, or both. Okay, whatever you tell it to do on this one, this is the one telling it what energy to use. So at the moment, I don't have the hookup cable plugged in, so I can't use it on electric anyway. I can only use it on the gas. So I have to leave it here where it is anyway. So that's gas only. If I had no gas, but I did have the electric hookup plugged in, I could either go up 1 or up 2, and that is 4 amps or 8 amps of electric power. If I was in a massive rush for the hot water or the heating and I had both gas and electric, I could go down 1 or down 2, which is either gas and 4 amps or gas and 8 amps. All right, so that is how you select the different energies there. At the moment, as I said, I've only got the gas on, so I can only use the gas anyway. So I've selected gas there. I then have to come over to the one on the left-hand side, which just says combi on it. And then I have to go through and tell the boiler what I actually want it to do. So a day like today, you know, if I was actually properly camping in this van, I probably would want some hot water as well, but it's also quite cold. So I actually right now, I want heating and hot water. So I'll go all the way down to the bottom, which is our heating and hot water function. So the boiler will go through its startup sequence and light up in just a minute. All right, so anytime that you've got this little amber light on here as well, by the way, is when your water is being heated up. So if I go up once from there to this one here, the amber light will go out and it'll be heating only. Okay, so it's still on, but there's no water being heated up. Okay, so this is heating only, this is heating and hot water. If I went up one or up two, it's hot water only, no heating, just hot water, and that's either at 40 or 60 degrees. All right, so the boiler's just going to light up now. There you go, nice and quick. And so essentially all you've got is this pipe just here, which takes it out to the vent on the outside, and then you've got the various brown pipe work that goes around to any of these little circle vents around the vehicle and pumps through the hot air. So at the moment, like I said, personally right now I actually just want heating and I can only use it on the gas, so that's why I've selected heating only on gas. But if I wanted hot water at 60 degrees and I wanted it on electric, I would probably go to the top here and to the top there. So you've got hot water only on electric. So hopefully that makes sense. Next door to that, you've got a mains power socket. You have got quite a few sockets in here, to be fair, for a German van. You've got another one up there underneath the cupboards. Quite often, or more often than not, the German vehicles have literally just got one plug in them. You've got another one there. Probably some back here somewhere. Might be wrong, but there you go. Okay, so that is your boiler functionality there. You have got the 3-burner hob up the top here. You will need an igniter of some description to light any 3 of these up because they haven't got their own specific ignition. And you've got your oven / grill here at the bottom. So you also need an igniter to light either of these up because that also hasn't got the ignition. Okay, bit of storage underneath there. If you're ever wondering what this little button here does, that is a tank heater switch. So if you ever wanted to use that, this is for if you're in seriously cold climates. But that's what that is there, just in case you were wondering. Paperwork for the van is all in here. And there's absolutely tons of it. You look in there, full to the brim with paperwork, which is exactly what you want, obviously. Okay, so the next bit I'm going to show you is the fridge. So this is your Dometic AES fridge, as I said. So this is a nice modern one with the blue light inside. I'm just going to get down so I can show it properly. So what you've got is essentially a little button on the left hand side, which if I press that and then press mode, I can flick through the different ways of cooling the fridge down. Okay, so at the moment the only way I can use this fridge again is gas, because I don't have the hookup plugged in and I also don't have the engine running, which is the other way you can use the fridge. So if I just turn this completely off for a minute, there you go. So when I turn this on, what will happen is, or what might happen is, it might come up here saying AES and it will go through its sequence and it will choose gas for me because it will work out that the gas is the only way it can work at the moment. Okay, so if we turn it on, AES, and then it'll come up saying gas. There you go. So what happened was, I think the sequence is 240 volt gas, 12 volt. So what will happen is when you turn it on, if you have it on AES, It will try and work on the mains. It won't be able to because there's no power there. It will then try on the gas, and if that doesn't work, then it will go over to 12 volt. You can also do it manually by selecting through the options there. So you can either choose mains power, 12 volt power, gas, or automatic. Okay, so it will select gas again. All right, so that's how you use the fridge. The way that you actually have to use the functions is you have to pre-cool the fridge down first, either via the gas or the 230 volt, so you hook up. Okay, so this fridge will not get cold unless you use first either gas or mains. The 12 volt on here, this one here, which will also start flashing, is only for when your engine's running, and it also only keeps the fridge cold. It doesn't get the fridge cold by itself. Okay, so the idea behind using these fridges is, say you're going to go on holiday tomorrow morning. If you only had the gas switched on in the van, you would go through, select gas, it will light up on gas, leave it overnight with all of your stuff in it, and by the morning the fridge will be nice and cold. When your fridge is cold, all you have to do at that point then is switch over to 12 volt, start the engine, drive off, and then when you get to where you're going, switch back to one of the other two, either mains or gas. Now that is just the way you have to use these fridges. You know, it's just the way they are. The 12 volt just isn't really powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. It will hold the temperature for you nice and easily, but it won't get the fridge cold by itself. Okay, so I'm going to turn the fridge off now, so press and hold there, and it goes off. So that's that. I mean, it might sound a little bit complex at the moment, but once you've done it a few times, you know, it'll be like second nature. You have got the drop down bed over the top just here. It's just a handle here at the front. You pull this handle towards you and the bed will drop straight down. Twin single beds here in the back as well, which is a really popular layout. Lots of nice lighting. The cupboards, just so that you know, nearly all work in the same way. So you've got underneath, you've got a little handle which you pull this down, and that will then allow you to open the cupboard door up. So that's how all of these ones, these lower ones here, work. So the last bit to show you is the bathroom. I don't really tend to spend very long in the bathrooms because they are just pretty self-explanatory. Apart from the toilets, sometimes you know, if you haven't used one of these particular ones before, a Thetford toilet, then obviously you won't know how to use that. So all you've got really, I mean, it's very simple. You've got this little handle here which opens and closes the flap, all right, which is actually on the cassette itself. So you need to make sure that's closed when you use the toilet, or you can have it open if you want to, if you're just using, you know, just for a wee. And then you've got at the back there the blue button, which is for the flush fluid. So if I press and hold on that, flush fluid pumps around. It will pump around better when you've got more water in the tank. I've literally just got the tiniest little amount in just so I could do the video, so it does need a bit more water in it really. But once you've got something in there, pull this towards you, it will drain into the cassette and then pull it back, and that's it. The sink is literally hot and cold, just like the kitchen sink. Same with the shower. You have got a light in the shower as well, which is waterproof. And I think that's about it. Oh, in this cupboard, sorry, at the back. So this really, because of the layout of the van, this really is your main wardrobe. So you've got the clothes rail, sorry, up the top just here, and shelves for clothes and things. You've got your mains trip switches just there. So if your mains cable was plugged in and it wouldn't work, have a little look in here and make sure they're in the upright position and showing you red, because that means that they're on. And then you've got your TV aerial up here. So to use the TV aerial, this is what you call a tilt and turn TV aerial. So loosen this off, and then you can push it up and twist it around as and when you want to. So wherever you want that to be, you can do it manually like that. Tilt and turn, does what it says on the tin really. And you've got your TV aerial booster. So switch that on and off from there, and that is it. that is your TV system up there. Okie dokie, so I think I have run through pretty much everything. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.